I want to ask you just right out of the gate.
Yes.
What's the big takeaway here for people that are watching this and going, what does this mean? What does it mean?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that happened yesterday. Number one, you certainly had a constituency that was very, very liberal that really turned out in this primary, number one. So let me also urge caution about reading too much into primaries. You know, August 5th is not November 5th. And what happens is you double down on the turnout. That changes the constituency exponentially. Yeah. So unless somebody, listen, you'd rather be ahead than behind, okay? On any election, no matter what. But if you're not topping 50%, right? And you've got to double the turnout in general, it's a whole new game. So what happens now, everybody kind of take inventory of what's going on, and they'll look at the numbers, and they'll overanalyze the numbers, and they'll read too much into the primary. The real campaign starts after Labor Day weekend when you're talking to a constituency that's so much bigger than you were talking to in the middle or early in August.
Yeah, I think that voter turnout expectations were like below 30%.
Yes.
And what we got counted here in the Seattle mayoral race is like less than 20%.
Yep.
So that's a drop in the bucket of the registered voters who are potentially going to vote. Yes.
And yes, it is. And you'll double down on that in the general, and that changes. That also there's a tendency anyway historically, where in a general election the voters are more moderate, generally speaking. Okay. And so you certainly had a really large left of center skewing in this primary. Again, don't get carried away with it because it's a low voter turnout primary. And so if anybody thinks, oh, this baby's done, I'm wrapped, I'm winning, I can just pick up my office. Not true. Yeah. Because it's a game changer come the general election.
Okay. One of the things even the challenger, Katie Wilson, said about the numbers is that she was surprised that she's ahead.
Well, okay, but listen, she didn't get to 50%, and they're within 1 point of each other. Like I said earlier, it'd be better to be ahead than behind.
Yeah.
But as we saw with the voters all the way across the board here in Seattle and King County, the more liberal candidate outpolled the other candidates, generally speaking. Okay, but again, that'll change come November. Now, whether or not she can continue the momentum and capture those voters is a very, very big question.
What do you think this tells Mayor Harrell?
Can you ask that again? Sorry.
What do you think this tells Mayor Harrell?
Well, he's got a race on his hands. Okay, he's got a race on his hands. But I wouldn't. I think he has some confidence about the constituency. And the other thing about Mayor Harrell, most of the tracking polls that I've seen on him, he has really favorable numbers. Okay, so this may have been a skewing of the constituency turnout in the primary more than any repudiation of Mayor Harrell's performance, in my opinion.
If you were to read the tea leaves, though, does it tell you anything about any of the issues, the fact that Katie is slightly ahead here?
Not really.
It doesn't?
Because, no, I don't think it says so much that as to where, it was more...
Because she was really touting affordability, cost of living. I've got a toddler, I rent, I take the bus.
It was her constituency that voted in the primary. That's what it was, primarily, okay? Now, he still held his own. I mean, again, it is a competitive race. I don't want to discount that.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, I want to be very careful about, that she's got all the momentum and the winds at her sails and all of that. Because she's going to have to go out and compete for a much broader constituency if she wants to win this thing, okay?
You always do great polling for us every election, so I'm going to be interested to see what that data is, and I know that we'll get some of that as we get closer to November, but can you read the tea leaves for me now? I mean, what do the constituents want? What do they expect in their mayor? What does the candidate have to do to win?
Yeah, here is the biggest issues that have not really changed here in the last 2 or 3 years, okay? It's get the people off the streets, okay? Crime, housing, affordability, access to health care. All of those issues have been dominant within the Seattle landscape for some time. Yeah. Housing has really been like the number one issue. Crime and housing are the 1 and 2 issues in the Seattle, they remain such. We'll see. We'll probably be doing a little later this fall. We'll be doing a KOMO poll that I think we'll see if there's been any shift in that. But I don't think so. In terms of answering your tea leaf question, I suspect they're going to be very similar. Now, who's made the most progress in terms of putting police officers on the streets? Is crime down? Statistically, it says it is, but till the last thing that you hear is about some criminal act or shooting that has occurred, then all of a sudden, no, it's not gone away. And so that will continue to be a huge issue in this election cycle this fall.
Yeah, so I think that the mayor, even last night, said, and I think we'll continue to hear this, hey, we have done this job with regard to public safety. We're making a dent. Homicides are down this time of year as to where they were pretty significantly, right, from last year.
Yes.
We're making a difference. We've got a new command staff. We've got a new police chief. We're doing things. Sounds to me, even based on what he's saying, is that he's got to make sure people hear that and see that and understand it, right? So he's got to tell a story.
Yes, right. I would submit that he has a story to tell. Okay, and I don't know. I wasn't inside their campaign, but maybe they just didn't put a lot of effort into the primary. I don't know what kind of money was spent. I'd have to look at the PDCs. But I think you're going to see a different campaign going forward. Probably out of both of them. If she wants her ability to win this thing is going to be to move more to the center. Okay, whether or not she can do that or not is another question. Because the moderate voters, the more what I'd call center-left voters, will be a larger voting block in November.
Okay, so I'm going to probably ask you to repeat yourself. You don't really think this is a referendum, this primary vote on the mayor and the job that he's doing so far, do you? Why not?
I do not. I think it's more about where the constituency came from, and I think that it was borne out not just in this race, but when you look at almost all the races in Seattle and King County, the left center, left of center candidate all prevailed, quote unquote, led their ticket, okay? And so it seemed that's the constituency that really got engaged.
Gotcha. Not
a bad thing, it's just that's who it was, and I don't think you can read too much into what it pretends.
What can you tell us about Katie Wilson? So obviously we knew that she had raised a lot of money, and I think at one point more than Mayor Harrell's campaign, and that may still be true today. Definitely some pockets there, right? Some money there. That always helps, right, with a campaign. It's significant. But what do we know about her? The fact that she has risen to the top. Are there things that
I think we're going to learn a lot more about her, both from coverage. But I think that probably what the Harrell campaign will do will put a spotlight on her employment history, or what has she's accomplished, or whatever she hasn't accomplished. And so you're going to hear a lot more about who she is, both by the opposition and by the general coverage of a candidate running for mayor in Seattle, one of two candidates. So you'll have a better sense who she is, because she's going to be much more under a microscope than she was in the primary.
Gotcha. Also, the mayor said last night that he knew this was going to be a close race. Your take?
Yeah, I think again in Seattle, it's a left of center race. Okay, and so if you're a left of center candidate, you're going to be competitive. It's just that simple. Now, one of the things where you mentioned earlier that she had probably outspent him. One of the things you have to watch for now in the general elections is called independent expenditures. I think you're going to see probably some organizations come into the campaign that are going to be very aggressive in spending money independently.
Both sides, or for one candidate versus the other?
I think my guess, my hunch is that the bigger number will be on the mayor's side. And not that she wouldn't have an independent expenditure, but it's more likely, again, that's because you're an incumbent too.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. So if you're incumbent, you can there's more independent interest in spending on your behalf.
Last question for you. Let's just talk to the voters for a minute, because sometimes, there's a lot coming at them, right? And it's a crazy political climate across the board, really. So how do they separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak? Is there any advice that you have besides really paying attention, getting to know these candidates? I mean, and maybe you want to just weigh in on that, but what should average voter like me and those watching do to make a good informed choice?
That's a really good question. And, spend some time listening to the candidates. Spend some time with the voters pamphlet. Okay? I know in my case, when I follow candidates pretty closely, but if I'm looking at fire district and other junior taxing districts, that voters pamphlet gives me the background information on these candidates, and I take a good hard look at that, and then I can make a more informed choice. So if you get an opportunity to go to candidates forum and listen to them speak, not everybody can do that, but if you can do that, that's valuable. The voters pamphlet is, I think, invaluable in terms of spending some time, because everybody's trying to put their best foot forward, and then you can decide what aligns with your ideology or your issues, okay? And then, just watch the news, both print and electronic, to hear what they're saying. And again, I submit that not a lot of people even knew that there was a primary until election day, on Tuesday, because it's just,
it's
August.
Summer. People aren't paying attention.
It's August
it happens.
in Seattle.
I've seen it. I've heard it. I even had people say to me yesterday, anecdotally, "What election?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so nobody was paying. So the more activist group tune in, and they participate. Okay. But then what happens as you get into the fall and people are kind of listening more to what's going on? They're not chasing kids at the pool. They are, they're spending a little more time educating themselves, and then we'll probably double the turnout in the general election.
Yeah, I guess I do have one more footnote, and you can weigh in on it, and,
sure.
and then we will end this for real. But I just wonder if I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Oh. Let's see if we can get real or not.
Let me see what it was. Oh, I know what it was. It was the primary results. If you just look at them from last night, it reveals a competitive battle ahead.
Yes.
And so, should we anticipate that this will be a competitive battle from now to November 5th? Do you think this is going to be in the mayor's race? Do you think this is going to be a hotly contested race?
I think it'll be a very competitive race. She scored well last night. Again, her challenge is as I've articulated, is how can she broaden her reach? Okay, and the other thing to watch, there were other candidates on the ballot, right? And where were those votes going to go? Okay, if you just take a look, as long as nobody's at 50%, nobody should feel comfortable. That includes the mayor. That includes her as well. Okay, so I think it's going to be competitive, but I think there's going to be a fair amount of resources allocated to defining who this person is. She's going to be under a microscope that she hasn't been under before yesterday.
Okay.
And that could be, we'll see, a game changer.